Hey guys, it's Miss Flesher. This is video 2 in the series on making sure that my journal is set up and ready to go. In my last video, video 1, I talked about how we set up the title slide. If you're confused about that, go back to video number 1 in this series and that will help you figure out how to do that. At this point, many of you probably have a journal that looked like this. This one right now is kind of, this was a mistake. It shouldn't have been posted in your journal. So when you arrived, it should have looked like this. So all you need to do is make sure that that slide is fully highlighted and then click delete. Okay, so at this point, you should have 5 slides in your journal if you haven't added anything new yet. And your first journal entry is defining cultural stories from 9/18/2020. So, in order to really understand my prompt for each journal, I always want to look under the independent work for the day. So, knowing that my first journal entry was on 9/18, I have scrolled down to the independent work for 9/18, and I'm going to open that slide deck and see what it tells me about my journal entry. Okay, so I need to work through these slides to complete my independent work for the day. I have to first choose a story to work with. So we had talked about how stories are an important part of human identity, and now it's telling me I should preview a few of the stories on the next slide. After I've taken a look at a few of them, I decide on one that I want to think about more deeply. Then I want to reread or rewatch that story closely, go to my journal, and write an entry responding to the story. I know that my journal entry has already been put in here for the day because my teachers told me that. So what I'm going to do next is go to my choice board and select my story. I'm the teacher of the class, so I already read all the stories, so I don't need to preview them. I know right off the bat I want to do my journal entry about this fictional story called Prisoner's Dilemma. It's one of my personal favorites, so I'm going to be writing about that today. So I have this up. I'm rereading it. I'm really taking it in depth. Once I've done that, I'm going to go back to my journal and see what it's asking me to do. Now, what's really important is that anytime Ms. Flesher or Ms. Hinderly are giving me a journal entry, they're always going to put the prompt for that in the link at the top of the slide. So in order to figure out what I'm supposed to write about Prisoner's Dilemma, I need to click this link to get my prompt. And here's where it's telling me what to write about. All right, so I'm going to go back and respond to all of these questions in my journal. I'm a writer. I love to write, so I'm just going to type up all of my answers in my journal. If you want to do video or audio, you are totally fine to do that. Maybe take a look back at the instructions slide, or I'm sorry, the tips for sharing slide, and click on one of those links. It'll tell you how to do that. Oh, hey, text message from Miss Hinderly. All right, so as I'm thinking about my journal entry, knowing that I want to write, I'm going to go ahead and just start typing directly in my text box. I have to toggle back and forth between my journal entry a little bit. Okay, so first question is asking me, what is this story about? What was its plot? What kinds of thematic topics was it addressing? And what was the vibe like? So I have a lot to write about for this first question. Okay, so the plot follows a young person who is watching the stars with her father. Oops, I don't know if it's a she actually, so I'm going to say their father and siblings. The father is trying to get the children to think about the secrets, maybe the mysteries of the universe, but the children don't really understand what he's trying to say. Some thematic topics I think it's addressing are the idea of family, what it means to be human, and what it means to show love for another person. What are my other questions? What was the vibe like? When I first started reading the story, I thought the vibe was nostalgic and sweet. As I got closer to the end, though, I started to think the vibe was pretty sad because the narrator talks about their father leaving. Okay, so I've just effectively answered the first question. Before I mark this assignment as done, I need to make sure I have addressed all 5 questions though. And actually I pre-wrote this journal entry before, so I am just going to copy and paste my answers back in for questions 2 through 5. Oops. Okay, culture they have created. It looks like I'm missing the answer to a question. What do I think the protagonist was trying to say about their identity or culture? What was question 2? What did the story reveal about the main character? Oh, I think I must have accidentally deleted that. So I need to go back and make sure that I've written about that in my journal entry. So that was question 2. I know that the protagonist is a child who is small enough in their memory to lay on their father's chest. I know they don't yet understand the questions that adults have about the world, but that they seem to really love and admire their father. All right, so I've fully answered all of my questions now. So at this point, I can go back to my independent work assignment. I have worked through all the slides here. My journal entry is complete. I can click Turn It In for this assignment, even though I haven't actually uploaded anything. The work that I've done is actually in my journal. That's okay. Turning in the independent work assignment is just a signal to me or to Ms. Hinderly that you've approached this journal entry and you're ready for us to look at your journal. I can't actually show you how to turn it in because I have a teacher view on Google Classroom, but if you fully open your assignment, you should be able to mark it as done. All right, and that is how you put in a journal entry. If you want to instead learn how to upload an audio or a video file, like I said at the beginning, just go back to this tips for sharing and you should see some links on how to do those things. That is it for this video. If you are somebody who's having trouble copying and pasting the slides into your journal, take a peek at the next video in the series.